Art sells, and sometimes it's through a gallery, or a dealer, or from the artists themselves. But more often than not, most art changes hands through an auction. But it's a lot more difficult than just uploading a photo to a website. No, it takes an army of professionals, registrars, researchers, handlers, and photographers to ensure that each auction is a success. And every now and again, they also need the help of a conservator.
I'm Julian Baumgartner. As a fine art conservator over the past 2 decades working to preserve artworks, I've been fortunate enough to meet and work with some of the most talented, driven, and interesting people in the arts. And now I want to take you into their worlds, to meet them, hear their stories, and share their passions. So join me as we go behind the canvas.
Hi, Julian?
Yeah.
Juliana Tancredi, very nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too. So I am here to pick up a painting, correct?
Yes, the LeFaux that we have. It is for our upcoming September auction, and it has a small tear in it that needs to be repaired before it goes to auction.
All right.
So it's just in the back here.
Okay. So the painting arrived with the tear?
It did, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it is something we've already told our consignor we think it should be repaired before we sell it.
This one?
Mm-hmm. It does have a small tear in it, like I mentioned. It's actually very hard to notice. I didn't really notice it until I got very up close and personal with the painting.
But once you see it, I'm guessing...
But once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Oh, yeah, I see it right there in the flower. I think it's really hard to see, but you're right. Once you see it, you just go right to it. So there's a little kind of a right angle tear, a little bit of paint loss. It doesn't look terribly bad. I also see some surface grime on it, something splashed or dripped on it. We can get rid of that too so that the painting looks really good. So Juliana, what's the timeline for this piece?
We're on a little bit of a tight deadline. The auction is September 27th. We would like to have it photographed before the catalog comes out, and so just 3 to 4 weeks. Is that doable to get it done?
That is tight. I'd have to take it today, though, just to get started on it. Is that possible?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yes, that'd be great.
Good. But let's get it going, because I got to get back to the studio and start right away now.
Preparing for an auction isn't for the faint of heart. It is an intense and demanding process. The deadlines are tight, the inventory is massive, and the stakes are high. But that's what makes it so exciting. Under the guidance of Hindman, each and every piece is treated with the utmost care and attention. Paintings that require the help of a conservator are sent to trusted individuals for restoration. Yet even with this in mind, it's not uncommon for Hindman to check in on the process to ensure the quality and the deadline are met for a work that they have been entrusted with.
Hey, Julian. Hey, Joe. Juliana.
Hello.
Nice to see you guys. This is the painting. Obviously you remember it. It's in a little different state than when I picked it up last time because I've been working on it.
I feel like this painting is in probably maybe the best shape of anything I've ever brought you before.
Maybe, yeah.
It's got to be right up there, top 5. We've brought you some very in need.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it, I at first thought, okay, what is there for me to do?
Even when I first saw this painting, I thought it was in fine condition, and then I looked a little closer and I'm like, oh, look at that.
It's one of those things that once, and it's kind of the rule of thumb for us, is it distracting? And in this case, it was, and once you see it, you can't forget it. And I think that we will improve the eventual sales price for this painting by doing what you did.
Well, the painting actually was in great shape. I mean, all things considered, it wasn't falling apart. There was no major issues. Obviously, there was a little hole and another indentation and some accumulated surface grime on it. Painting was first cleaned, all of the surface grime removed, all of the residues removed, and then I began working on the structural treatment to mend and address that tear so that obviously we make it disappear. We can't have a painting with a big tear in it up for auction.
Of the 50, 60, 70 LeFaux I've ever sold, this is the first one I've ever brought to you, and I think part of the reason for that is they're almost always in fantastic condition. People ask us for condition reports for everything that we sell, and LeFaux are typically one of the ones that I volunteer to do because it's very easy. I usually just say light surface dirt, no restoration visible under UV light, and go on about my day.
Right. So when was LeFaux painting?
60s, 70s. That's probably when this painting was made, and that's when a majority of the paintings that we sell by LeFaux were acquired. He ended up here based on where his gallerist was, and along with his fellow Vietnamese French artist Vu Cao Dam, who we also sell a lot of. They're abundant. We see them in Chicago collections often, and part of the reason this is here for sale, or it's going to be for sale at Hindman soon, is the market has recently taken an uptick. The market has drastically changed over the last 16 years, and maybe a $10,000 painting is now a $30,000 painting. This is a $50,000 to $70,000 estimate that I could easily see breaking into the six figures.
Wow, so what causes that, the market to go from here to here?
If I knew the LeFaux market was going to do that, I would have bought a bunch of them.
Right. It's a $1 million question.
But I can tell you that at the moment, the Asian buyers are driving this market at the highest rate. Vietnamese collectors specifically, but also Chinese, Japanese, and I think that we'll see that again with the paintings that we have in the next auction, of which this is one of 3.
Okay.
So we have another figurative work in the sale of actually another sort of leisurely woman in an interior with flowers, and she's painting the vase of flowers.
And this is one of the more complete compositions I've seen by LeFaux as well. A lot of times it is just a still life or a woman sort of meditating. To have 2 of these paintings where it's a woman with a still life, it's unusual, actually.
Okay.
They're 2 of the better examples we've ever had, and that's part of the reason we wanted to bring this to you. Is the other 2 paintings didn't really need assistance, in our opinion, and we wanted to make sure all of them were in basically the same shape.
How do you guys understand when it's important to do conservation?
Well, I think we're trying to do what's best for the consignor, and we're trying to do what's potentially going to be the best opportunity for the buyer as well. You cleaned an Alfred Sessler for us a couple years ago that was just incredibly dirty, and it couldn't have turned out any better. There were gentlemen shoveling snow, and the snow was black, and all of a sudden after you cleaned it, it was white. So that was a $2,000 to $4,000 painting that ended up bringing $15,000, I think, and it was because we cleaned it. So it was absolutely positively
so I get a cut of that?
Exactly. So yeah, we can talk about that later. It's a conversation we have somewhat often, and we really don't think about conservation as often as maybe people think that we would. But you've always been very honest with us if it's going to clean up or not. I think a couple times you've said, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot.
There's no benefit to cleaning it.
Maybe a bad business decision, but I think it's the right decision.
So we're going to have people ask for in painting, et cetera. How much are we going to see? Is it just going to be the tear that you repaired?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that you guys, blacklight paintings, when you see them, that's a critical part of examining any artwork, and your clients are going to ask those questions. And what you'll see is just retouching where there was loss. Instead of seeing a big area of glazing and feathering, we're just going to see little dots of where the paint was missing. Speaking of conservation, I want to show you what I did, so that you guys can have an acute understanding of the work that went into it. The tear was right here, and kind of a jagged puncture. The canvas wasn't sliced; it was kind of torn open.
Someone put their elbow through it.
Yeah, it was a very small, sharp elbow. The first step was to relax the canvas. The surrounding area was deformed, and the canvas itself kind of burst open. So by using moisture, heat, and pressure, in the same way that we would remove wrinkles and distortions from a shirt or a dress, we relax the canvas down and reset those fibers. Once we have that done, then I can start doing what's called bridging. So if you look here, you can see little strands of Belgian linen. I take these and I cut them off. I dip these in an adhesive and I lay them down perpendicularly across the tear. So these hold it together, but they also make sure that in the future it doesn't kind of open up or distort again. Well, so that's kind of the full picture of what was done. I trust now that I've explained it to you and that I don't have to write the report.
Oh, no. We definitely want the report.
Yes.
Our buyers will ask us for the report, and
I figured as much.
It makes our lives easier.
It does, yes.
Saying Julian Baumgartner worked on this painting and here's the report is easier than the 2 of us doing it. So you're saving some time for us.
Yeah, well, speaking of time then, you guys have to leave because I have more work to do all of a sudden now at my computer writing reports.
All right.
Sounds good.
Once the restoration process is complete, the painting is packed and delivered back to the auction house 1 week before the auction date so that it can be photographed, documented, and cataloged so that any potential buyers will have all of the information they need before bidding. For this particular piece, the process is relatively straightforward as Hindman is intimately familiar with both the artist and his work. But for some paintings, it can be quite tricky, and careful research and attention to detail is paramount.
All right, we can find a place for it just in here.
Okay. All right. You guys look pretty packed.
Have you ever been back this far into
don't-
the Hindman bowels?
I don't think I have. I usually stop off at the front, either pick something up or drop something off. But I don't think I've been back at least this far.
Well, you're here.
Yeah.
You want to get a little tour?
I'd love to get a tour, yeah.
Happy to do it.
All right, where to?
So, Julian, as you know, I am a paintings guy,
Yeah.
and I'm in the fine art department.
You're out of your depth
I'm
here,
a
huh?
little out of my area here, but we're a full-service auction house.
Yeah, I
and
can
this
see.
is obviously part of what we do: rugs, glassware.
So there's a specialist for every category of item that you auction. I see some couture here. There'd be somebody who's a specialist in that, a jewelry specialist.
Yep, furniture and decorative arts,
Okay.
rugs. We're about to pass a knight in shining armor.
My son would love that. That's
Yeah,
very cool.
Mine as well. He would need to grow into it.
I mean, there's a lot of really interesting stuff here. Will you auction anything?
No, we don't auction anything. We are full service, but we're also very much trying to curate sales as well. We don't handle liquor, we don't handle cars,
I see.
but we do handle most other things. As you can see from this room.
This is the antiquities section.
Yes.
Wow.
So we continue to be well outside of my own personal area of expertise.
I mean, some of this stuff looks like Grecian, Roman.
Yep. Greek, Roman, Etruscan, Egyptian.
I'd imagine the complexity of auctioning off just a single piece must be Herculean.
The amount of work that goes into selling every single object is
Vetting
intense.
or history or
Provenance, vetting, connoisseurship, you name it. It is a huge part of the process for a $100 object they're selling, a $100,000 object they're selling.
Wow.
It's based the same way as the fine art department, where
I see.
we do a ton of research before we sell any of these objects. The problem that we don't have in the fine art department is usually we're selling objects about 200 years old up to today,
Yeah.
and the antiquities team is selling objects 3,000 years old.
Yeah,
So they are absolutely positively amazing at figuring everything out before it goes to sale.
I mean, it's just so cool to see some of this stuff. I feel like I'm in the living history museum. I'm kind of jealous.
So Julian, this is our main gallery. As you can see today, it's sort of in a holding pattern, but we have some pretty amazing things, even though we're just leaning them up for preparation at the moment.
Jasper Johns, Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, Andy Warhol, Mr. Pablo Picasso, and Alexander Calder. That's kind of like a who's who survey of 20th century art show.
Yeah, we're kind of doing a little art history class here this morning.
Yeah, so I often get asked, like, if I ever get sick and tired of looking at artwork, and yeah, some days it does feel kind of boring, but then, then I go through a room of like my heroes, and the hair stand up on the back of my neck.
Yep.
I mean, do you get that feeling too?
I do. I mean, we sell thousands of objects every year, so you can't get excited about everything.
Right, you can't get attached to everything.
You can't get attached to everything. We bring material in, we usually live with it for a couple of months, we put it to an auction, it sells to somebody else, it's going somewhere else. So I can't get too involved emotionally.
So what are these paintings that are selected out from the racks?
These are selections of our upcoming post-war and contemporary art sale.
Is this where the auctions actually happen?
It's not. Actually, this was our old auction room, but we did move into another room, and there's actually a sale taking place as we
is that right?
speak. We could go in there, we'd have to be sort of quiet.
Oh, yeah.
But
Can we?
there is a sale. Let's do it.
Elizabeth's bidder. 150's been bid with Elizabeth first. Bid 175.
So one thing I'm noticing, Joe, is that there's nobody here with a paddle screaming out bids.
That's right. Part of the reason for that is this is an online auction. So everything that we're selling today is going to sell to somebody via a computer. We have phone bidders, we have absentee bidders, we have people who bid over the computer.
In the digital bid room, bidding 16.
Want to go check out upstairs?
Yeah.
Fair warning. Sold for 450 to 1018.
And I know I showed you earlier where all of the huge oversized paintings live. This is where all of our
Small paintings.
normal size paintings
Right.
live. And
A lot of racks.
It is. It's a lot of material, but this is where we actually do all of our work as well. So we're nice and close to the material that we actually need to see and catalog. And as I'm saying that, here's my colleague Zach Worson, who is looking for a painting as we speak.
Julian, good
Nice to see you. When you say this is where you do most of your work, where you and Zach, this is like your center of operations, what exactly does that mean?
Basically doing the physical research with the works, confirming condition, that sort of thing.
Cataloging the material is sort of the first thing that we do before we get down to the more nitty-gritty research of every single work that we sell.
So what's the nitty-gritty stuff?
Well, we get to have a conversation usually about the provenance of the work, the authenticity of the work.
And in terms of more nitty-gritty, I think doing research outside of the building is also a part of this. And while we have our own extensive library here to do research, often we'll be dealing with artists that we've never dealt with before, so there would be no reason to own their catalog raisonné or exhibition catalogs by them. And the universities and the Art Institute all have extensive libraries that we're able to go to, going through the card catalogs and working with librarians to pull reference materials, and that helps us kind of flesh out the history of paintings.
Do you guys think that that's something that people come to Hindman for specifically?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel extremely biased because I work at an auction house, so bringing things to auction is what I think is the right approach. But people do ask on occasion, well, why shouldn't I just sell it on my own?
I mean, I have eBay. I could just go and auction it.
You could use eBay. You could put your painting on Craigslist or whatever. You could put it on your Instagram account. But I mean, you're bringing it to auction to be vetted by professionals. We have a team of 15 people in the fine art department nationwide, and every single piece of work that we sell has a lot of thought go into it.
Establishing an object's provenance is a crucial task, whether it be a 200-year-old painting or 2,000-year-old artifact. Hindman's team are like modern-day detectives, piecing together information from various sources to establish a history and story of each piece. It can be a challenging process, requiring patience, persistence, and a deep understanding of the art world, as many records have been lost over time or are incomplete. But the work is essential not only to present accurate information to the bidders, but because this chapter of an object's life will now become part of the history books of the future. Thanks for kind of pulling back the curtain and letting me see just how much hard work goes into this and how dedicated all of you guys are at really making every piece shine.
No, it's my pleasure. We certainly don't give everyone this sort of a tour, so I'm glad you were able to do it. Make sure you come back for the actual sale. The LeFaux is going to be in the auction on September 27th, so hopefully you can be here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll put it on my calendar. I can't wait.
Awesome.
All right, well thanks, Joe. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I have a confession to make. In my over 2 decades of working in the art world, I have never attended a live auction. I have spent countless days and years conserving art that's to be sold at auction and working on countless more pieces that are fresh off the auctioneer's gavel, but never before have I been on the other side of the process. Of course, there's always a first time, and while today I'm not buying or selling, I suppose one could say that I have a personal stake in the success of this painting now. The cherry on top of this first experience is that I'm seeing a work that I personally cared for being sold and starting a new chapter of its life.
Julian, welcome.
Hey Damien, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Looks great.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Turned out very well.
It's always good to see it in,
absolutely.
Lit well, kind of in context of all of its other paintings. Are the paintings going to get moved to the bid room?
No, they stay here for the exhibition.
Okay.
And occasionally we'll hang one in the bid room behind the podium, but generally no.
Is that just for like safety of the paintings?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The more you move a painting, the more chance you have to.
You're speaking my language. Right. Should we go to the bid room?
Let's go.
All right, lead the way.
Lot number 23, another work by LeFaux. We can open the bidding on this lot to, again, a lot of interest. I have actually tie bids of $80,000. We're at $80,000 to my order, looking for $85,000. 85 Cameron, 90,000, 95, 100 to live auctioneers first. We're at $100,000 on my right, 110 Sabrina, 120. We're at 110 bidding 120. 120 is bid. We're at 120 on live auctioneers, 130 back to Sabrina first. I have Hindman platform at 130. 140 to Corbin. We're at 150 back on the Hindman platform looking for 160. John, you have 160? Now 170. We're at 170,000 on the Hindman platform, bidding 180. We're at 170, bidding 180. 180 to John. 190 back to Sabrina, looking for $200,000. We're through. We're at $190,000 to the Hindman bidder, selling for $190,000. Last chance, fair warning. Sold for $190,000 to paddle 1059.
And just like that, it was over. I couldn't believe how quick the auction was. Within just a few minutes, the painting was sold, and everybody was on to the next lot. The bids were flying back and forth, and before I knew it, the hammer came down and the painting was gone. I guess that's the beauty of a live auction. A cacophony of motion, action, bids, and responses. Everything happens so fast, and it's all over in the blink of an eye. Joe, that was amazing. I was on the edge of my seat. I was sitting there
totally calm for the whole front half of the auction, a little kind of daydreaming, and then the LeFaux hit, and my heart rate started skyrocketing, and I felt like I was invested in it, and just to see it perform like it did was just exceptional. What was the auction estimate?
It was in at 50 to 70,000.
Okay, and where did it end up at hammer price?
Well, it ended up hammering at 190,000, which was great. And as the auctioneer, I was in a great spot where I actually was able to open the bidding at 80,000.
I noticed that. I was wondering what was going on there.
We had 2 absentee bids at 80,000. So in that case, when we have tie bids, the bid actually goes to the first person who got their bid in. I think there were 10 or 12 bidders total, but it always comes down to 2. And that happened in this case as well, where I think in between about 150 and 190, it was really just down to a contest between two collectors, one on our Hindman platform and one on the telephone. I think both of which were international bidders.
That's
so
fantastic.
We're thrilled.
Obviously, having the piece conserved, setting the estimate, those are fairly simple things.
Yeah.
But that's not what yields a price like this. You can't just throw something in an auction and expect magic.
No, part of the magic is the behind the closed doors, my colleagues and myself reaching out to people who we think would be interested in the painting. We're in a good spot where we've sold a lot of paintings by LeFaux over the years and somewhat recently, so we contacted every single person who's ever bid on one, every single person who's ever bought one from us was aware of the sale.
Well, congratulations again, Joe. That was one heck of an auction to be part of. Thanks for bringing me in. I will let you get back to it and hopefully set some more high prices.
I must admit that I have gained a newfound appreciation for the inner workings of an auction house. From carefully creating the catalog to researching and telling the story of each piece, and the auctioneer's skillful maneuvering of the bidding process, it is clear that every role is critical, and the event is truly a collaborative effort that requires the expertise of many dedicated individuals. The auction house is not just about selling art, but it is an integral part of sharing the cultural heritage of humanity and telling our stories.